So the way we're going to do this is we sing one line at a time. And then in between each stanza, each set of 2 lines, everyone all together at the same time, we all sing Gauranga in double time. We sing Gauranga, we sing the first 2 lines together. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane. Rati Krishna, can you hit me with this? Gauranga Karuna Koro. I should have done it before, I'm sorry. Just fetch the mic. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane. Is it a Kartos? Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane. Mosomo Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane. Mosomo Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane. Dande Trina Dori Gora Daki He Tomara. Dante Trina Dori Gora Daki He Tomara. Oh, Daki He Tomara. Kripa Kori Esho Ama Hridaya Mandire. Kripa Kori Esho Ama Hridaya Mandire. Bolo Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane. Mosomo Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane. Jadidoya Nakoribe Patita Dekiya. Jadidoya Nakoribe Patita Dekiya. Patita Pavana Nama Kishera Lagiya. Patita Pavana Nama Kishira Lagiya. Oh, Kishira Lagiya. Everyone together. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane Samopatita Prabhu Podichi Bhavatu Fane Nahi Kanistara Podiche Bhavatu Fane Podiche Bhavatu Fane Nahi Kanistara Shucharana Tadani Dane Dashikoro Para Shucharana Tadani Dane Dashikoro Para Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane Samopatita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasiranudasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasiranudasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasiranudasa Pratana Koro Ye Sada Narottamo Dasa Pratana Koro Ye Sada Narottamo Dasa Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane Samopatita Prabhu. A little louder, please. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jane Samopatita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Gauranga Karuna Kora, Ami Dinahina Jane. Gauranga Karuna Kora, Ami Dinahina Jane. Oh, Ami Dinahina Jane. Mosamo Patita Prabhu, Nahi Tribhuvane. Patita Prabhu, Nahi Tribhuvane. Oh, Nahi Tribhuvane, Nahi Tribhuvane. Bolo. Nahi Gora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey. Gora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Gora Haribo. Nitai Gaur Giriraj Radha Gopinath Ju Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Srila Prabhupada Ke Shri Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Shri Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha Ju Ki Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Shri Mati Subhadra Mai Sudarshan Ju Ki Shri Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. So, I'm curious, is there anybody here for the first time other than me? Actually, I was here in 1993, but is anybody else here for the first time? What about you? So, I'd like to read something this morning and have a little discussion this evening from Bhagavad Gita. And we can recite something of the Mangala Charana first. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindabanishvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gora Graganya Gana Gotra Guloruharam Gauranga Gudatama Gopyada Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami. So it's a very nice song we're just singing. It's a song which expresses deep humility, which is not the most common quality we find in people in this age today, although it's still very endearing to everyone. And the author of the song, Narottam Das Thakur, he's praying to that ocean of mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Gauranga Karuna Koro, Ami Dina Hina Jani. He says that, my dear Lord, you please be merciful to me. The Lord may say, why? Why should I give you mercy? Oh, because ami dina hina jana. Because I'm a very, very fallen, poor person. Mo samo patita prabhu nahi tribhuvani. In fact, if you do a roster, you make a list of all the most qualified people in the universe, my name will be on the very bottom. Now, let's just suppose you're going for a job interview in downtown Boston. And the interviewer asks you, what is your qualification? And you tell them, actually, I have no qualification. I'm the most useless person in the whole world. Is it a good idea? It's probably not a good idea. You probably won't get the job. But in this category of petition, where someone is seeking out divine mercy, this is the qualification. As my spiritual master used to say, your only qualification is your disqualification. So he's praying like this, and then perhaps Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's praying to him, and he says that, Dante chena dhori ghora daki he tomar. I'm not just saying this from the lips, I'm saying this from my heart. He says that Dante chena, because I have straw in my teeth. What does it mean when you have straw in your teeth? We speak about this. We mentioned something the other day, I think. It means several things. It means that I'm not going to give any excuses. I'm not going to give any argument. You can punish me. I'm here to be punished. And it also means it's not coming from my lips. This is coming from my heart. This phrase is used, Dante Trina, in many places, in Gaudiya Vaishnava literature and Sangeet songs. He says that, then Mahaprabhu may say, then what is it that you want? He says, Kripa Kori, Esho Amar, Hridaya Mandiri. I'd like my heart to become a temple. We asked a question a few days ago from the devotees, how many of you, before you came to the Hare Krishna movement, really liked organized religion? And we were very shocked to find that nobody raised their hand. People don't really like organized religion very much. But the program of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees is not one of real estate acquisition and building construction of buildings and things. The program is an internal one, that we want to make our hearts into temples of God. We want to bring the Lord into our heart. It would be such a wonderful thing if more people were like that in the world today. What the world needs today is not more religion. We need more saints. So then he thinks to himself, well, perhaps when he sees how unqualified I am, then maybe he won't give me mercy. So then Narottam Das Thakur does something very amazing. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha. He threatens the Lord. Jadidoya na koribe patita dekiya. Jadi means if. If, because you see how fallen I am. Jadidoya na koribe. Patita deki, you see just how fallen I am, then you decide, how can I give him mercy? Then, if you're going to do like that, then we're going to have to change your name. Patita Pavana Nama Kishira Lagiya. Everyone's always running around and saying, Patita Pavan Godahari Ki Jai. Right? He's the deliverer of the fallen. Narottam Das Thakur says, if you don't save me, then it's a lie. You're not the deliverer of the most fallen, because Mosamo Patita Prabhu. Nahi Tribhuvani. In all the three worlds, there's no one more fallen than me. So if you don't deliver me, your name as Patit Pavan has no meaning. And we just have to change your name. Porichi bhavatu fane nahi kanistara. So perhaps at that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him, okay, I'll give you mercy. Just stand in the line. And you look at the line, and the line goes all the way from Boston Commons to Vrindavan, India. It's a long line. And Narottam Das Thakur says, this is not going to work. And he says, Poreche bhava tufani, nahika nistar. He said, I'm going to die. I can't wait in your line for the mercy. I'm drowning. I'm in the middle of this ocean of samsara, material existence, and there's a huge typhoon, and the waves are bashing me. I can't see the ocean. I'm going to die at any time. Sri Charana Tarani Dane Dase Kodupara. So you please come and save me. Give me the boat of your lotus feet and deliver me. And then perhaps Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, okay, all right, you can get on the boat. But before you get on the boat, do you have a ticket? And Narottam Das Thakur says, yes, I have a very good ticket. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasiranu Dasa. My ticket is my Guru. My ticket is the Vaishnavas. My ticket is the lotus feet of all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because I'm the servant of their servant. Prarthana koroye sada narotomo dasa. Prarthana koroye sada. Sada means always. And this is my constant prayer, constant mood of my prayer. This is the mood of the saints. It's a very difficult thing for us to understand in this world today, where everyone is claiming greatness and advertising their so-called good qualities. But Narottam Das Thakur is teaching us that if we want divine mercy, something else is required. And what is that? Honesty. Brutal honesty. And it may seem like our situation is very, very difficult. Bearing that in mind, I'd like to take you on a little journey tonight in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm curious, just a show of hands here, how many of you read Bhagavad Gita, have read it? Raise your hand. Okay, pretty much everybody. Now, how many of you here have a favorite section? Raise your hand. Yeah, pretty much the same devotees. Okay. How many of you, your favorite section is the first chapter? Nobody. Isn't that interesting? But you know, for me, I guess I'm a little strange. First chapter of the Gita is like, wow, I think it's just completely awesome because it's something relevant for me. This chapter in Sanskrit, it's often called Vishad Yoga. And that in and of itself is a very interesting term. What is the word Vishad? Vishad means lamentation. It means the yoga of lamentation. But it also means something else. It's a compound word, bish-ad. Bish means poison. And ada means to accept. This is a yoga. Yoga means that thing by which we connect ourselves with the absolute truth. This is a yoga of honesty. The yoga where I accept the bitter poison of my fallen position, and we use that to help catapult our heart, the feelings in our heart, to call out in a very, very intense way. So in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it begins by stating, Dhritarashtra says, that Dharma Chaitri, Kurukshetre, Samaveda Yutsava, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, Kimakurvata Sanjaya. I may speak something more about this. We'll have another session. This is part one of this Vishad Yoga. We'll have another part in another hour or two. So he asks, he says, what happened there at that place of Kurukshetra? So we know that these two great armies, they met. And in the midst of these armies, Arjun, he asked Krishna, Senayor Ubayor Madhye, Ratam Stapayame Achyuta. Hey Achyuta, Krishna, please take my chariot in between both armies because he's a good warrior. He's not just going to drop a nuclear bomb on everybody. And if there's a few million casualties from the civilians, well, what can you say? It's too bad, right? He wants to see who is the actual enemy that I have to fight with. So then Krishna takes him in between those two armies, Mhm. And he says, Uvacha parta paishyaitan samavetan kurun iti. Krishna waves his hand at both sides. And he says, Arjun, look at all the Kurus here. Well, that's a little enigmatic because Kuru is not just the followers of Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, but Kuru is also the Pandavas. And Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport, now what did Krishna mean when he told Arjun to, quote, behold the Kurus? What did it mean? Why did he tell him like that? He's indicating to Arjun, this is the enemy. Who is the enemy? It's not who you think it is. It's not just ISIS and the immigrants. Something. That's not the enemy. The real enemy is inside of you. The real enemy is a certain conception that you have. The enemy also is your own family. Not exactly your family, but your conception of those persons as your family. So Arjun, he saw there in the middle of that battlefield, he saw his grandfather, Bhishma Dev. He saw his teacher, Dronacharya. He saw some of his very good friends and many other different relatives and persons. And Arjun had a tremendous crisis. This is such an important thing, such a very relevant thing for all of us, because everybody in this world today, we all have crisis, we all have problems. And this is a foundation of the Bhagavad Gita. We should understand the subject matter. So then Arjun, he lost his enthusiasm. He went there to fight. But after he saw, my God, I have to fight against my family members and everybody. Then he said that, now I feel the limbs of my body quivering. My mouth is drying up. And he told Krishna, Nachasaknom navastatum brahmativa chame mana nimitani cha pashyami viparitani keshava. Viparitani means just the opposite. He said that, Krishna, I can't deal with this. Prabhupada translates this verse, I'm now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I foresee only evil, O killer of the Keshi demon. I can't stand here any longer. I can't do it anymore. We sometimes give a seminar on this section of the Gita, and sometimes we call it suicide in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very relevant subject, and it's spoken about in the Gita, when we just can't take it anymore. And everyone comes to that point sometimes. And there's different ways that we can deal with it. We can deal with it in a very negative way and take our own life with a gun, with some poison, or jumping off a bridge or something. But according to Vedic culture, Vedic literature, if you do that, you'll just take birth. You'll become a bhoot, a ghost. You'll give up this physical body, but the desires that you have, they'll continue in what's called a sukshma sharira, or a subtle body. And you'll still have the same desires, but you won't be able to fulfill them because you don't have a physical body. And you'll just be full of frustration and unhappiness. And he said to Krishna, I'm forgetting myself. Arjun's forgetting his position that he's supposed to be a protector of the truth, a protector of the innocent. I'm forgetting why I've come here. And he said, my mind is reeling. And I foresee only evil. I only see bad things in it. This is the nature of depression. When people become really, really unhappy, they can't see any good in the activity more, and they just want to quit. Srila Prabhupada has commented on this. He said, due to his impatience, Arjun was unable to stay in the battlefield. And he was forgetting himself on account of the weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in a bewildering condition of existence. Bhayam dvitiya banivesa tashat. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium take place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna envisioned only unhappiness in the battlefield. He would not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. The word nimitta is significant. When a man sees only frustration in his expectations, he thinks, why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is supposed to show disregard for self-interest by submission to the will of Krishna, who is everyone's real self-interest. The conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him. He's forgetting his real self. This is the problem of everyone in this world. We're all having a crisis of identity. The living entity, when it comes into this world, what is the identity? When we're born, we don't know our name. We don't even have a social security card yet. We don't know who we are, why we are. In the Vedic literature, it's said that the first conception of ourself, the time of birth, is anamoya. I am hungry. That's who I am. Every mother understands this when they see the babies, right? I am hungry. And then after some time, further conceptions come. And these conceptions are all like different clothes that we go to the department store to purchase off the rack. We become, I'm the daughter of this person, and this is my mommy, and this is my daddy. And my identification, my self-identification, is based on these other persons and my relationship with them. And then later I become a student, and I'm a friend. And then maybe later on, as we were mentioning, I think this morning, when we become about, a young girl gets to about 12 or maybe 14 years old, she becomes a goddess, right? And all the boys follow along behind her, like this. And she has that conception of herself. It's not something which came from her. That idea is based on the way everyone else is treating her. It's dependent on those other persons. And then later on, she becomes a girlfriend. Later on, maybe she becomes a wife. And later on, she becomes a mother. And she thinks, this is my child. Now, what happens if that baby dies? Hare Krishna, we wouldn't hope for that. But if that child dies and the mother she laments. And why is she lamenting? Not just for the loss of that child. She's also lamenting like a part of her is gone. Psychologists say that one of the greatest one of the most difficult things to go through in life is when your mother passes away. Because we identify so strongly with our mother. And this is a crisis that Arjuna is going through here. It's a crisis of identification. He's thinking, these persons, I am the grandson of Bhishma Dev. I am the student of Dronacharya. I am the friend of Ashvatthama. And my identity is based upon all these different persons. And so if I lose some of them, then it's like losing part of myself. So if we contemplate this matter, we can understand these things which are known in Sanskrit as upadhis, or designations. These upadhis are really the cause of all of our anxiety and frustration. And if we contemplate it further, we can also see these upadhis, these designations, are also the cause of violence, subtle and gross. We put upadhis on persons. And basically we give conditions. I love you, you're my son. I love you as long as you behave according to XYZ. That designation is there. And children often feel very frustrated because they're not in control of anything. And so they like to have little toys, and sometimes they like to smash the toys. Or sometimes they hurt small insects or animals because they also want to be able to be in control of something. I have there's a friend that I know of in New Jersey. Her father migrated here from Egypt, and he came and he got, I think he has 2 PhDs, one from Princeton and one from Harvard something. He became a very successful businessman, multimillionaire, has a big home and things. And he decided at a certain point, I want to have a son. I was going to become the president one day of the United States of America. That was his decision, right? And so his wife became pregnant. He was very happy. And then after they came back from the doctor in an ultrasound test one day, he was disappointed to find out it was going to be a baby girl. Anyway, life goes on. So then he decided, my daughter, she'll become the first lady president of the United States of America. It's a true story. And he raised that little girl with so much love, and he gave her everything she wanted, all the most expensive toys, and private schooling. And later on, he bought her a car when she was like, 15, 16 years old. Nice car, and he sent her to a nice university and things. And one day, she came home from school, and she said, Dad, I met these really nice people today at school, and they gave me a book. Bhagavad Gita as it is. And a little later, she read the book, and she went back to her father again. She said, Dad, this is a great book. And you know what? I want to become a Hare Krishna. So that very loving parent, what did he tell her? You're not my daughter anymore. I hate you. I reject you. So this is a result of upadhis, of designations. And we can laugh about it, but I sometimes see it even amongst our own society. When devotees sometimes have a little child, the child's like 2 years old, and he's playing the cartels. Did you see him? He's an incarnation. And the poor little kid, he's just 2 years old, isn't? And you're shaving his head, twice a week, and putting a little dhoti on the poor guy, and tilak and everything. The kid doesn't know anything. And bringing him every day to the temple. I know parents who are bringing their kids to Mangal Artik. You got to get up. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, and taking him to Mangal Artik every day. And they were very, very proud. My little boy. He's going to be the one. And then the pride and joy of their life. He gets about, 14, 15 years old. And one day he tells his parents, I don't want to be a Hare Krishna. I want to have a girlfriend. I want to smoke dope. I want to go to the movies. Get lost. And then sometimes the parents, what do they do? What do they say? You're not my son anymore. And this is based on upadhis. And this is not real love. Real love is described in Srimad Bhagavatam as ahoitaki apratiyata yayatma supersediti. There's 3 symptoms of real love. First of all, it's ahoitaki. It has no motivation. It's not dependent upon the other person's behavior that you're going to do exactly the way I want. But I love you no matter how you are. That's real love. It's ahoitaki. And that kind of love can only come on the spiritual platform. It's ahoitaki, it's apratiyata. It never stops. It's not that I love you now, but later on I just want you to know we can always be friends. And I just met this other girl and she's really beautiful, but we'll always be friends, okay? That's not love. That's something else. And therefore, such relationships are not yayatma supersediti. They don't satisfy the self. And everyone then is so very, very disturbed. And therefore, this section of Bhagavad Gita is very, very relevant. Arjuna is feeling so much anxiety and so much suffering because he's identifying himself with these upadhis, with these designations. And we often do this. We want to figure out who I am, and maybe we're bored with life, so we go back to the department store and we think I need a change. Instead of being an IT professional with a bookworm and some jeans and a T-shirt or whatever, now I'm going to buy a leather coat and some leather pants with spikes. I'm going to have a different kind of person. I'm going to get a cowboy hat and do this and that. And we pick out our identity. It's like a costume contest. But even a child will understand on Halloween when he sees someone in a costume, that's not the real person. But people in the material world are so bewildered, they're more bewildered than that child. Because they think that all these designations, all these costumes that I have, they're really me. They're really my friends and other persons. And this kind of conception puts everyone in so much anxiety. And therefore, Krishna, he put Arjuna in this situation. This is known as Shaka Chandra Nyaya. Shaka Chandra Nyaya means that logic, was it Shaka? Chandra Nyaya, yeah. The logic of the branch and the moon. That the mother, one day she tells her son, do you see the moon? Maybe everybody can come up a little bit. It looks like it's a little crowded in the back. Please, just come up a little. Saka Chandra Nyaya means, you can come over on this side. Saka Chandra Nyaya means the logic of the branch and the moon. So the mother tells the child, do you see the moon? The child says, no, I don't see the moon. Do you see the tree? Yes, I see the tree. Do you see the branch of the tree? Yeah, I see the branch. Okay, just follow along the branch, and you see the end of the branch, there's the moon. So her purpose is not to point out the branch. Her purpose is to point out the moon. But she's pointing out the branch to point out something else. So in the same way, Krishna's purpose in Bhagavad Gita is to point out all of us. And Arjuna is a secondary thing. He's using Arjuna as an example. Arjuna is actually his eternal devotee. And he's not bewildered. But Krishna is doing this big drama and making it seem like Arjuna is bewildered. And therefore, Arjuna, he's thinking, how can I fight? How can I do this thing? How can I continue? I'm going to have to kill a part of myself. And therefore, better that I die. And so he tells Krishna, Yadi mama pritikaram asastram shastrapanaya dhartarashtarane hanyustan make shemataram bhavet. He said, Krishna, I would consider it better for the enemy, for the sons of Dhritarashtra, just to kill me, unarmed and unresisting, rather than to fight with them. And in the last verse of this first chapter, he says, Evam uktvarjuna sanke rato pasta upavishat vishrija sasaram chapam shoka samvigna manasa. Sanjay, who's narrating the Bhagavad Gita, he says that after saying those words, Arjuna put his bow and arrows, his weapons aside, and he sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. As we were saying earlier today, this is death by cop. This is suicide. Let me just die because I can't deal with this thing. So this is the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna teaches us through this behavior of Arjuna that this kind of lamentation is not actually necessarily a negative thing. This is Vishad Yoga. If we accept our situation, and this is the first part of this yoga, most people, they don't accept it. Their wife's divorced them, they just lost their job, and they've got AIDS, and they're going to die in a few months. And you ask them, how are things going? Oh, yeah, it's real good. Everything's all right, you know? People say like that. We're living in an illusion. We can't recognize the simple fact that I'm suffering like anything. And that I've made so many mistakes that I've hurt people. This is the nature also of people who are predators. They hurt other people and they can't come to grips with the fact that I've done these bad things myself. They don't see themselves like that. But we have to begin our spiritual life by Vishad. Vish means poison, Ada means to accept. To accept this poison of my situation. And Vishad then also means lamentation. And in that situation, I can begin to cry. And in the next chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the first verse, Sanjaya, he says, now the Bhagavad Gita begins. And what does he say? Vishidantam idam vacham uvacha madhusudana. Vishidantam idam vacham. After hearing this Vishad, this lamentation of Arjuna, then Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. This is the thing that's required. It's not required just that you become a member or that you give them some money or that you change your dress or you shave your head or whatever symptoms people think it means to be religious. But what's required is something internal. And this is the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. We have to embrace our fallen position and use that as a means to call out to the Lord. And therefore we have this song, Gauranga Karuna Koro, Ami Dina Hina Jani, that I'm a very, very fallen person. And we identify with that. And if we identify with that, that's our yoga. That's our connection with the absolute truth. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead shows his face as Sri Guru or as the holy name in so many different ways. He reciprocates Vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. Then he begins to speak when he sees, now we're ready. Now we really want something. We're tired of living in Disney World and thinking that everything is okay. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the principles of the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And we'll continue our talk about these things in about another, I don't know, half an hour, I think it is, something like that. So we'll stop there. We have just about 2 minutes, I think. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this particular subject before we go on?
Babaji? I thought that, I really appreciate you bringing these really wonderful points about the first chapter. There's so many other, as we know, translations of the Gita, and some of them elucidate allegorical and relate it very much to the almost like it's an analogy or an allegory for the human being. And we don't regularly, I haven't over the years heard this spoken in a way that devotees can both relate to it and accept that battle of Kurukshetra actually occurred, because in other Gitas they're sort of going so far with the allegory but denying the reality of Krishna. So I just wanted to appreciate that. If there's any comment.
Srila Prabhupada was very, very intent. This Bhagavad Gita is not an allegory. This is actual history. This thing happened. But it's also something relevant for all of us. Because the Gita was spoken by Krishna, it's always relevant. We just have to fix our ear in such a way that we can hear, what is Krishna saying to me? And even in this first chapter of the Gita, as we found out, nobody practically reads that chapter so much. It's not anybody's favorite chapter practically. But there's a very, very practical message in this first chapter for us. Thank you. Anything else is there? Okay. So we're very, very fortunate tonight because we're going to have some very wonderful kirtan now with one of our favorite kirtaniyas and one of our favorite singers and all the Hare Krishna movement, and that's His Holiness Niranjan Maharaj. So I hope everybody stays and gets very, very absorbed in the kirtan. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi Hari, Vancha Kalpatarubhishcha, Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo.